Alright, boys and ghouls, what better movie to watch at almost 5 a.m. after just waking up like a few hours ago? My sleep schedule's fucked. Martyrs from 2008. This is a very disturbing movie. This is a very controversial movie. Probably one of the most disturbing films like that you hear people list off very often when people are talking about the most violent, depraved type of movies. And a lot of them are French, with Inside and this movie and High Tension, and a lot of the new wave of French extremity films kind of get listed in there, even though the director, Pascal Laugier, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the two leads' names because it's French and I don't speak French. He's denied that this film fits into the new wave of French extremity films. I mean, there is some good themes explored here, and there is some stuff that kind of elevates this movie for me above just the ultra violence in it. And we love some good old ultra violence. So let's talk Martyrs from 2008, not the remake, the American remake, which blows. So, for anyone who hasn't seen Martyrs before, it's a French film, as I said, that follows these two women, Anna and Lucie. And Lucie was a victim of abuse and being held and tortured, basically, for over a year. And she ends up meeting her friend Anna in an orphanage, and she also was a victim of child abuse. And then, years later, they end up going and trying to take revenge on this whole secret society where people are trying to inflict physical pain and torture on human beings in order to get them to some type of spiritual transcendental state where they can see or get a glimpse of the afterlife and what happens after death. So far, they haven't had any success. All the people that they've tried turning into martyrs all end up dying, succumbing to the physical torture. But maybe one of these girls has something special that you'll be able to break through. Now, talking about how controversial this movie is and disturbing and all that, from what I remember, like I said, it's been a few years since I've seen this, but I've seen it a few times. It definitely is graphic, it definitely is disturbing, but I don't think it's that disturbing and that graphic the way that people hold this film up. I think Inside is much more depraved and graphic. A Serbian film, when you talk about these extreme horror movies, those all come to mind first for me. And even Cannibal Holocaust, which is in my top 25 movies of all time, I think is more controversial and more depraved than this movie. And I kind of agree with the director's statement that this doesn't really belong in the new wave French extremity category, because one of the things I love about this movie is the story, is the script. The performances are excellent, the directing is great, there's some great visual imagery, some great shots in here, but the whole story of a secret society torturing human beings on a daily basis in some of the most disgusting, despicable ways possible in order to try to turn them into a martyr that can give them an answer on the afterlife. I think that's a very interesting story and premise, and the way that he pulls it off in this is just fantastic. So we open up, it's 1971, and we see Lucie end up escaping from this, it's like a warehouse, a slaughterhouse or something like that nobody uses, and she's been held there for a year or more, being tortured and abused, beyond belief. She ends up escaping, and then she ends up at an orphanage and meets her friend Anna. Lucie sees throughout this movie this disfigured looking woman that attacks her a few times and stuff. That's all great. That's what I'm talking about with some of the visual imagery, all the shots of that demonic, disfigured demon. So it's a whole projection of her mind and her guilt and stuff that she left this girl behind when she escaped. But the way that they film this creature or demonic woman, whatever you want to call it, she really genuinely looks terrifying. And then a little later we find out that Anna can't see her, and that's when we find out it's just part of her mind. Now, when they first open up, we see recordings of I'm guessing it's someone from the orphanage that's showing off to somebody else the place that Lucie was held for the year plus and just suffered malnutrition and had to go to the bathroom through a chair hole and like just deplorable conditions. But they do make a point to bring up that she was not raped or sexually assaulted in any way. He says that's certain. And I like that they throw that in there, and I like the fact that they didn't throw in a rape scene or something like that, because this society here is not concerned with that. They're not concerned with sexual intentions or anything like that. They're purely trying to get these people through physical suffering and torture to transcend into a different plane of existence or the afterlife. So I'm very glad they didn't throw some unnecessary sexual abuse into this movie just to make it more shocking. So the people at this orphanage, they're showing the aforementioned footage to young Anna because they want to find out who these people were who did all this to Lucie. And Lucie, Anna mentions, wants the same thing, and she doesn't remember anything from when she was held there. It was dark most of the time. But I like how even when she first goes missing here at the orphanage, and Anna goes looking for her, and she finds her in the bathtub, and she has cuts on herself. She was cutting herself. But she says, Anna, don't tell anybody. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. But then they zoom up on her fingernails, showing them bloody and stuff. So right from the beginning, they pretty much put it right in your head that the demonic lady that you're going to see in a bit is in her mind. I like that too, that it's not a mystery, is this thing real or not? No, it's just a manifestation of her broken psyche. And it was a great way to go about the whole inclusion of this creepy woman in here. If anything, I feel like this movie is more effective psychologically than the violence shown, in the movie. Just when you think about what these people, these girls went through, it's really hard to take in. Imagine having your mind and body broken down so much as a child, nonetheless, that you actually hallucinate and picture a deformed, creepy-ass person that you used to get tortured with in everyday life, and you just have these hallucinations because your mind is so broken from trauma and stuff. That's terrifying. I say it all the time. One of my biggest actual fears in life is losing complete touch with reality. So just the way that they show that, not just the physical trauma, and they don't just focus on that. That's what I mean. It's not as disturbing as other films that I mentioned, because it's a lot more psychological, despite all the violent scenes. There's a lot of stuff that they show in here, and very well done too. Just relating to the psychology and minds these two girls are living with after dealing with immense trauma. Why do people run into their beds under the covers whenever some spooky shit happens? I mean, it's not just that they're kids here and stuff. I mean, we see adults do this all the time. Why? If I thought somebody was creeping around where I am and stuff like that, I'd be running out of wherever I am, whatever structure I'm residing in, and I'd get as far away as possible. Not just jump in bed and cover yourself with sheets. We see it all the time. Just have to bring it up. And because I don't know what to call this thing, I'm just going to call it psychological entity from now on. But we get the ending of this whole cold open intro before we get the Martyrs title card. We see our first shot of this psychological entity, and it looks terrifying. Let's do that one more time for picture for the thumbnail. She looks spooky as hell. She's framed great. She looks so goddamn scary. Then we get the title card, Martyrs. So then it is 15 years later, so 1986, and this is when we get the infamous scene from this movie. The whole break-in that Lucie breaks into this seemingly normal family's house. Husband and wife, 2 kids, and she just annihilates this entire family because she says that they're responsible, or partly responsible. They're in this circle, this secret society that held her captive. And at first, Anna doesn't know whether she's just crazy, Lucie, and that she's wrong. So then we get a pretty lengthy 4 or 5 minute scene of dialogue between this whole family, making you think that somehow they're innocent. And they do a great job at that. But yeah, this whole scene is infamous for many reasons, and rewatching it shows, man. It is savage. It is a very savage scene. Like, we've seen people get shot before and stuff. It's just the way it's filmed. As the doorbell rings and the father goes to open the door and Lucie's there just holding the shotgun and he looks confused for a second and then just he gets shot and he flies like 10 feet and hits the stairs, blood everywhere. Okay, now, then the wife gets shot and I think she's not fully dead. So let's talk and discuss some theories here for those who have seen this. Do you think that the kids knew what their parents were doing? Because Lucie specifically has the son sit down and asks him, how old are you? And he says 18. And he says, do you know what your parents did? And he doesn't answer, but the look on his face, I guess, gives it away that he did have an idea, and then she brutally shoots him dead. So, did he know? I mean, maybe not the younger sister, but did the brother know? What are your theories? Do you think that the kids knew that the parents were involved in this crazy shit? Like, did she go overboard killing the son here? Is pretty much what I'm trying to get at. Because if you put yourself in this woman's shoes, and you can't even fathom the pain, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, anything that she was put through, can you blame her for her actions here? Can you blame her for tracking down these people that were responsible, or partly responsible, and brutally killing them? Like in complete cold blood. Of course, you can't say unless you're in that situation and stuff, but I think she's totally justified with killing the parents. Completely. That's why I also bring up the children. Did they know? Because, 18, if he knew, he's 18, he's an adult, he deserved that shot. Then the daughter's hiding under the bed. She's standing on the bed. She knows she's under the bed. I don't know why she wastes a shot by shooting through the mattress, like, to try to shoot her through the bed. Because she misses, and then she has to reload shells. I guess maybe she was just trying to scare her out from the bed so she gets a clean shot, but why not just, she knows she's under the bed, why not just jump down, point the gun, you're looking right at her, and blow her head off or something? But she ends up getting killed too, so she kills this entire family. So again, going back to that point, do the son and daughter deserve what they got here? Let me know your thoughts, because I can say this, like 100% seriously. If Lucie here was like my daughter, and these people did what happened to her, to my daughter, to quote the movie The Guest, which I love so much, like, I would find the people and I'd burn their house down with the families inside. Like, so, I don't know what I would do in that situation, but I can see her side of it, killing everyone here, killing the kids too. Like, I can see it. Is it right? No, it's not right to kill anybody, but after what she was put through, I'd have blinders on too, and that's what I'm pretty sure she has on also. She killed the parents. She had that whole conversation. If she was just going to kill everybody flat out, she would have just started shooting, and just killed everybody. The fact that she sat the son down and asked him how old he was and did he know, shows she had some type of reservations about killing the kids. Once he gave that look that kind of gave it away, and like I said, I don't know 100% if he did know, but that's kind of what's implied, and she shoots him, I think from then on it's just blinders. It's like, all right, well, she's got to die too, the daughter. Like, everyone involved with this family is dying for what they did to me. And this is where the performances absolutely shine. The girl who plays Lucie, like, she's breaking down after this. Like, even she didn't want to do this, really. Like, she felt that she had to stop it from happening to other people. But at the same time, she starts breaking down, like, on top of the mother here's, like, body, and asking her, how can you do that to me? Like, how can you do all this? Like, and she starts crying and shit. So, it shows so perfectly the effects that lingered with this girl after going through everything that she went through, and how fucked up in the head she is. All of that is so perfectly captured here in this film. So this scene is very, very tense. And I think another reason why it's just a great idea that they went with, showing this psychological entity at the very beginning of the movie. Because once she kills everybody in this house, and then she talks to Anna on the phone and gives the address, then it starts getting very suspenseful. If you didn't have that whole introduction at the beginning of this entity that she's been haunted by her entire life, basically, since she escaped from her torture, you wouldn't have the suspense build up here, because there would be nothing to build up to. The family's dead, but since they planted that seed, you know that something else is off. And the way she's looking around this house with her shotgun, and she thinks the door shuts, she turns around, she blasts at the door. She's terrified. Then when you finally get the entity just jump out at her, and it like walks like an animal, like on all fours, and the design of it just looks fantastic. Like, it looks like the freak from Castle Freak, but different. So here's a picture. And she starts just taking a knife and just scraping, stabbing her back over and over again. But again, this is just a figment of her imagination. So she's just doing this to herself. I guess she's self-harming herself after just committing these 4 acts of brutal murder. Regardless of where the wounds came from, she should be in a lot more pain than she is here hiding in the closet, right? What I also really like about this movie is the first time you see this, if you never heard of Martyrs or what it's about or anything, they do a great job of subverting your expectations, starting to think that this is like some type of ghost movie, like with that demonic entity and shit, the girl she left behind. Then when you finally find out it's all in her mind, I mean, even though there are hints at it, like I said in the very beginning when they show her in the bathtub and she has the blood on her nails, she's obviously scratching or cutting herself. Even though they plant those seeds, you still don't fully know what this movie's about until like 45 minute mark. And I think that's great too, the way they set it up, making you think that it's going to go one direction, and it goes in a completely different direction. So then Anna shows up at the house, and Lucie is frantic, freaking out, and she ends up telling her that, you know, that she's here, meaning the entity. It's just the best way to call her. Like, previous victim, girl downstairs, like, I don't know what to call her. She says that the entity is here in the house, and Anna says she knows. So I'm pretty sure Anna knows that this creature or whatever is in Lucie's mind, and that she just can't break through to her, even as like her best friend, to make her convinced that it is just in her mind. But she ends up going in the house, and she sees all the carnage, and Anna's like really taken back by it. Like, she's shocked by what Lucie just did, killing this family, and she's hoping that Lucie's right, and that these were the people that did that to her. And of course it turns out that she is right, but imagine if she wasn't. And nobody heard mad shotgun blasts going off, like, during this whole event or anything like that. No one called the cops. Like, I mean, I guess since like they're part of this secret society and they are doing nefarious shit to people all the time, maybe they have the house soundproofed or like something like that. Who knows? I'm just reaching here, but nobody heard those gunshots. Shotgun? I don't know about all that. Little side note also, even though I said I agree with the director's statement that this doesn't really fall and shouldn't fall into the whole French extremity category, if I include it in there, it's probably my favorite out of all those French films that came out in the 2000s. This one, it would be high tension or switchblade romance, wherever you're from, whatever it's called, but the twist in that movie is stupid. Like, so dumb, I can't enjoy it on rewatches. I did a video on that. If you're a fan of that movie, check it out. I talk all about that dumb twist. But this movie probably is my favorite of the French extremity films. Inside is great too. Frontiers is one I haven't seen in forever. So that's another one I got to do a rewatch soon. But just the storytelling in this one alone, I think is the best out of all of them. That I have seen, of course, which is a decent amount. I haven't seen all of those French extreme films. And of course, I didn't even mention, I don't even think it has to be mentioned, but the dynamic between Lucie and Anna in this movie is phenomenal. Like, they carry pretty much this whole film until Lucie's not a thing anymore, but then Anna carries it. But the dynamic between the two of them, and just the bond that they have, that they've both been through some just evil stuff in their childhood. Great dynamic between these two characters. Can't all be praised. After committing 4 murders, and bringing Anna into it. Now she's involved. They're cleaning the house up and stuff. She's looking out the window, Lucy, and we see Anna dragging one of the bodies in the rain. Lucy, you can't help but sister out. Let me tell you, what a creepy shot that is. When Anna's washing off in the sink and you see in the reflection of the mirror, you see the mother and the daughter's bodies that they put like in the shower, the bathtub. And then you see the mother's eyes open and she turns around and the mom's still alive. That's great. Like, that's creepy as shit, the reflection in the mirror. Man, and then the scare with the entity in the bathroom, that it's like slithering behind the toilet and then it pops out. All of that, it just looks fantastic. Like, I can't praise the imagery in this movie enough. It's been a while, but Tubi wants me to let you know, don't just buy regular tape for your Christmas gifts this year to wrap them. Buy Scotch tape, all right? Don't buy tape. Buy Scotch tape, even if you make your presents drunk. But let's be honest, only half of you are going to get that. Then we get the very important flashback here with us seeing Lucie escaping from her captors. And we see her get loose from her wrist restraints in the chair that she's in. And then she goes into the other room and she sees the woman that she had to leave behind. And she's literally been haunting her ever since. She feels immense guilt over this. And she even says, like, forgive me to her before she leaves. Then Anna tries to help the mother here in this family. She's still alive. I guess it's because Anna's starting to doubt that this family was the family, or like people that were responsible for what happened to Lucie. So she's trying to help her. Then we get a great scene when Lucie just comes down and she starts smashing this woman's head in with like a hammer or something repeatedly over and over again. And this is what I mean. Like, you do see a few shots of like her head getting hit and stuff like that, but I've seen so much gorier, like head smash-ins and stuff like that. It just comes down, for me, to the way that it's filmed. It's filmed in such a way that, kind of like with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's kind of coincidental, as I always say, how Hooper's use of visual imagery is phenomenal. That implied violence, even though you do see her getting her head smashed in, like a lot. But you don't see close-ups of the head or much gore or anything like that. Maybe I'm just desensitized to all of this after my whole life watching just horror movies and gore beyond belief. So it doesn't really like hit me hard on the gore level. As I keep saying, it hits real hard on the psychological level. Like, just seeing this woman, this broken woman, Lucie, just go insane on this woman, smashing her skull in. And Anne is like in disbelief again because she thinks that she's trying to do the right thing for her friend, but then she's also feeling guilty too. Like, what if this is not the people that did this to her? And then, of course, though, we find out they are. And then everything changes. Like, that's like kind of, where are we at? 45 minutes? Kind of like what I said earlier. Around like the 45-minute mark is where the actual plot is revealed for this movie. Up until this point, like I said, you can even look at it as a demon or like a haunting movie or something like that, until they reveal that these people, this family, actually were the people responsible, and then they find their lair. Let me say this too, the editing is great in this movie. Like, this is when we find out for certain here, and when Anna sees that we see the demonic woman, Lucie goes up to her and says, they're dead, they're not going to hurt you anymore. Then the entity seems to embrace Lucie, then just takes a razor blade and starts slitting her wrists vertically like this. Then you see Anna seeing this, and there's nobody there. It's just Lucie doing it to herself. And then the way that, like, the entity takes her head, Lucie's head, and starts smashing it into the wall. Then it's edited so well, because there's some shots with the entity having her hair and smashing her head in, and then there's, from Anna's perspective, edited in, of her smashing her own head into the wall. Like, it's very well done. And she just ends up running, jumping out a window, slits her throat in the rain, and leaves Anna all by herself. Then Anna, though, ends up finding the, like, secret door to the chamber, and finding this woman down there that was haunting Lucie all this time, proving that she was right about this entire family. And then Anna just gets into a situation that she never saw coming. But for an opening 45 minutes of a film, I mean, this is great. Like, this is a very, very, very good first half of a film. The way that it builds everything up. Like I said, you don't know exactly what's going on until right around this point. The whole first 45 minutes of this movie, I think, is excellent. So yeah, Anna finds the secret part of this house where they do all this torture. Now, I mean, I don't know, man. It's your house where you live. Wouldn't you not want, like, a torture dungeon and shit, like, in your own house? Wouldn't you want to, like, do this somewhere else? Just like they do with Lucie in the very beginning. She's in, like, an abandoned factory or something like that. Why put a torture dungeon in your own home? I don't know. It seems very stupid and very self-incriminating if they were ever investigated into. And Anna stumbles onto the crazy woman that Lucie's been hallucinating all this time. So she's been here all this time, being tortured and starved and just everything terrible that you can ever picture happening to you. This woman's been going through it for, 16 years? Because they flash forward 15 years to the beginning of the movie, when she escapes in 1971. So we don't know how long this woman's been there before that, because we know that Lucie was there for a year, a little over a year, and she escaped. This girl could have been there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years before that. Add on the 15-year time jump. I can't believe this woman's still alive. Like, I really can't. For some reason, I haven't brought it up yet, but all the makeup effects and stuff on this woman looks excellent. Like, it looks really good. This woman looks so starved and broken and just malnourished. And then she has, like, the metal, like, blindfold contraption on her head that she can't see anything. Like, the whole look of her looks fantastic in this movie. Then Anna tries to help this woman and gives her a bath, but she starts freaking out because who knows if it's just her body can't take the heat of the water, or like all the infectious cuts she must and probably has all over her body. It looks painful. But how does she piss her shit? Because they show her with the metal thing covering her eyes, and she has like a metal chastity belt that like covers everything pretty much. So I mean, we know Lucie was able to go to the bathroom through a hole in the seat that she was chained to forever. How does this woman shit? It's not important, but it's a question that came up. She must be so backed up. Isn't she backed up, Ross? And don't even tell me that they take the belt off when she has to go. Because then we get the whole scene when she's in the bathtub and she's pulling the staples out of the metal thing around her eyes. They stapled this shit to her skull, which is a very hard scene to watch. She's taking all the staples out of her head and stuff like that. So don't even tell me she goes to the bathroom. All right, let's just take this off you. No, that shit's stapled to her, too. So I don't get it. Then the emaciated woman, she ends up being left alone by Anna for a second. And then we see her with a big-ass butcher's knife or kitchen knife start slitting at her wrist and stuff, cutting herself up. All of that looks really good, too. Then we have a bunch of people show up that are all part of this secret organization. They kill the woman, and then they take Anna prisoner. And then we meet Mademoiselle, which is the only name she's given here, and she's like the leader, I guess, of this organization, the secret society. And she's kind of an exposition machine. She pretty much just explains what they're doing and the whole thing. They're torturing these people to make them martyrs, so through physical pain they could see some type of alternate state or reach some type of transcendental state where they can prove there's an afterlife or something like that. And the whole idea of this, I'm not going to say it's not far off. I looked into it a little bit, though. There are a lot of cases of people who have had spiritual awakenings or reached transcendental states through suffering, through physical pain, through torture. It has happened before. There are a lot of cases of it if you look into that. But again, it's just a great premise. It's just a group of people trying to break down people physically as much as possible in an attempt to expand their mind and their consciousness past what we know about life. Like, it's really a great idea. Let me say this too. Even though I said Mademoiselle is a lot of exposition, she's still gives a great performance. Like, she's creepy, like some of the dialogue she comes out with, and then of course the ending, what happens to her, all that's great. So then during this whole scene with Mademoiselle and telling Anna everything, again, great dialogue. And then we find out what happened to Sarah which is the name of the emaciated entity woman. And Mademoiselle is asking Anna, like, what about your friend Lucie? Did she see anything? No monsters or anything like that? And then she says she saw a dead girl. And she says, see, there you go. Then she says that Sarah, the entity woman, saw cockroaches all over herself after being locked away in the dark and stuff. And she's saying how easy it is to create victims. You just put them in a room and then just carefully, methodically, like, feed into their suffering, and they'll start seeing shit that's not there and everything. So she started seeing cockroaches, that woman, all over her, and that's the reason she was just, no matter what, she's going for chopping her arm off or anything like that, because she keeps on hallucinating these cockroaches on her. That's a cool little detail. They didn't even have to throw that in there, of like what was wrong with that woman, but they did, and it works. When she starts flipping through the book, showing Anna the pictures that date back to like the early 1900s of photos of people that went through immense type of pain, torture, suffering, cancer, everything. And then they show their eyes in the pictures. And she mentions each time, like, they were still alive when these photographs were taken. Just the sound design in that scene is great, as she keeps rattling off what was wrong with each person and see they're still alive and stuff, and it starts echoing a bit, her voice. The sound design is very good in that scene. The fact that she says that young women seem to be the ones who, in all their trial and error, doing these torturous martyrdom experiments on these people, they found out that young women transpiring or transcending into, into a higher state of consciousness. But they say very quickly, they even tried children. And just the addition of that line, what the images it puts in your head, knowing what Lucie went through and what the creepy woman went through, that line, just the addition of that line really fucks with your mind if you catch it and you think about it. That, man, they were doing this to children. Like, these are fucked up individuals. Then we near the ending here. We see like a little montage of just everything that happens after they take Anna captive, and they're torturing her, they're feeding her, they're giving her a sponge bath and stuff like that. So, I mean, it seems like she's getting better treatment than at least the emaciated creepy girl. God, like, she seems like she was just left down there to fend for herself and not be able to shit. This woman's getting baths and stuff. It can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. That's terrible. Then we get probably the second most infamous scene from this movie, with the skin filleting scene. And Anna gets all her skin filleted off of her, and just the muscles are showing and stuff. And she survives all this. I can't imagine. Can you? The pain that this woman must be in. It's unfathomable. Then they call Mademoiselle and say that she's still alive. And the shot that we get of her chained, filleted, but like her skin on her face is still there, and it just pans in, zooms in on her eye. One of the best shots in the movie. Like, that looks absolutely fantastic. And she does see something. She does transcend. Anna becomes the first one that this secret organization has been working on for, seems like at least 100 years, right? Because they say 1912 or something like that was the first picture in the book that Mademoiselle is showing Anna. So this is the first one to actually, like, succeed for them and to become a martyr and to be able to see some other plane of existence and have some type of enlightenment from all this. So Mademoiselle is psyched. So Mademoiselle shows up to see Anna, and again, looks brutal and phenomenal, with her just like laying in a bed with all her skin filleted off, and she whispers something to Mademoiselle after she asks, did you see it? Did you see another world? And she whispers, and we never get to hear what the whisper is. But then after what Mademoiselle does at the end here, it's pretty heavily implied. Okay, so Anna's not the first one to transcend. They say it at the end here, all the people in this society gather at the house, and they say that Anna's been martyred. Now, they say that this is the 4th time it's happened, but it's the first time one of the martyrs that was successful was able to relay what they saw. So that's where she's the first in, with the whole whisper of what she saw to Mademoiselle. For some reason, I thought she was the first one ever martyred, but no. So apparently there was 3 others before her that I guess saw something and then died without being able to tell what it was. Then this guy goes on to say that her experience lasted 2 hours and 15 minutes, that this wasn't a near-death experience, that this was over 2 hours that she actually experienced martyrdom. Now, we'll get to this in a sec. So we get the ending. All these people are waiting for Mademoiselle to come out and tell what she was told by Anna about what she saw, about life after death. And her assistant, whatever, 18, comes to the bathroom door when Mademoiselle's getting ready. And he says to her and asks her, like, did you definitely get an answer? Like, there's something after death? And she says, of course there is. Then she asks him, can you imagine what comes after death? And he says no, and asks if she's all right. And then she ends up pulling out a gun and says, keep doubting, puts it in her mouth and blows her fucking brains out. So what I've always taken from this is she was told by Anna what she saw. And the whole whispering and stuff was her testimony to Mademoiselle of everything she experienced, right? So obviously she did see something. And she did transcend, like, to martyrdom, like they've been trying to successfully do all this time. Her line of keep doubting, I think is just, it's a very bleak ending. But when she asks him, can you imagine what happens after death? And he says no. She knows, or in her mind, and we'll get to that, she knows what happens after death, that there is something. So her line of keep doubting, to me, always meant that once you know that there's something after you die, a lot of people would probably just kill themselves right off the bat, like just to get to that other existence. And I'm pretty sure that's what they're implying with that keep doubting line and stuff, that she no longer doubts an afterlife or another plane of existence or whatever you want to call it because of the success, quote unquote, of Anna. So that's why she kills herself, because she knows that there's something afterwards. Hence the keep doubting line to 18, because he hasn't heard it, the testimony. He's never experienced anything like that for himself. So like most of us, we're always going to not know and not be 100% sure of what comes after when we die. So that's what I've always taken from the ending here. Let me know if you have any other thoughts on that. But before we end this, Lucie was experiencing intense hallucinations of this woman who was locked down there that she left, stabbing her and hurting her and stalking her around and shit for years. Anna did whisper what she saw to Mademoiselle, yeah. But how do you know that just wasn't like a hallucination brought on by extreme torture and physical agony and stuff like that? People have hallucinations all the time and stuff of like seeing lights and everything like that. That's no proof that there's an afterlife, is the whole thing I'm trying to say. Mademoiselle just takes her testimony from Anna just completely on faith. And I guess it's just because she's deranged, right? She's a fucking lunatic, just like this whole society. So there's no proof that what she says to Mademoiselle is proof of an afterlife. She could have just had some intense hallucinations, or she could have lied to her, or anything like that. So what are your thoughts on the ending of Martyrs? Now, is this one of the most disturbing horror movies ever made? To go back to the beginning of this video, not by a long shot. It's not. I mean, there is some graphic stuff in here, and there is some very disturbing stuff, but I feel like it works much better on the psychological level. This is a movie that I can't watch often. That's why it's been years since I've seen it, because it is depressing as shit. And it is very intense. And like I said, a lot of that has to do with the directing here, the editing and stuff, and the shots that are chosen to make it seem and look much more savage than it already is. And I think they just did a phenomenal job with this movie. Most disturbing horror movie like ever? Nah, not even like in the top 20. I'd have to go through a whole list in my head. But amazing film. Martyrs, 2008. If you haven't seen it and you'll listen to all this, if it sounds like stuff you could stomach, definitely check it out. Do not watch the American remake from 2015. Because it is so bland, it's so bad. Even the director of the original here, like, had a bad contract, and he was just, like, attached to the remake, but he made no money off of it or anything, and he despises the remake too. It's bad, but The original, 2008, excellent movie. So, Martyrs. Alright, guys, wherever you're from, hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, or night, and I will talk to you soon. Take care, you martyrs.